So using this electronic box and a special kind of key called a paddle, you could now make automatic dots and automatic dashes. And that was a huge revelation. It made sending so much easier. So 1940, again, kind of changed the era. A lot of people jumped on the bandwagon. Here's a key called the Monty, not sure how to pronounce that. This one is in the museum, filled with vacuum tubes, really troublesome controls. In order to keep what's called the dot to dash ratio correct, you had to change a lot of electronics when you change the speed. So you clicked speeds here, and you turned this knob. It was troublesome, but nonetheless, it sold pretty well. One of the first early commercially built electronic keyers. Here's Eldico, name that some of us know from transmitters and what have you, but they're gone. So this was their attempt at getting into the market. Again, something called the calibrate control here. You put that in cal, change the speed, adjust this pod, I think, until the ratio sounded right, and then you start transmitting again. So they were troublesome. But those characteristics, built-in paddle, built-in paddle, built-in paddle. So that was the trend in the beginning, to build in the paddles. And typically, they weren't very good. I mean, look at this one, all plastic, real flimsy. So they had a lot to learn. But this is the model. This is the granddaddy of them all. This is the Helicopter's TO keyer. It's a really nice key. It's got a funny relaxation neon bulb oscillator. This is a wonderful, wonderful example of that. And Tim can't read it. Okay, moving right along. Now that we've gone to electronic keyers, there's a whole new need for something called a paddle. The paddle, of course, would not send code by itself. You had to connect the paddle using 3 wires up to a keyer, and the keyer, through this manipulation of the dot and the dash levers, would in turn key the transmitter. So we started a whole new era then of something called paddles. Because the paddles had no moving parts, no vibrating arms and what have you, they became relatively simple to build. So people started building paddles from all kinds of things. Old saw blades and whatever you could find, people built paddles from. And some people took their old bugs. Look at this, this is a beautiful pre-war bug. Somebody took a hacksaw and just cut the paddle off, cut our vibrating arm off. It just made a paddle out of their old bug. Well, I bet they wouldn't do that today. Fine collectible. This is one of the first of the purpose-only built paddles called the FYO paddle. W8 FYO. Pretty interesting paddle, actually. But one of the things that struck me was the fact that here's 100 years in technology. Here's an 1860s relay, and we adjusted it by pulling the tension on the spring with a string wrapped around a screw that would turn. So pretty interesting for that reason only. But look at this. See this bent arm here? And see this round piece? And this spring? Everybody got that in their mind now? This is going to be a test, because we're going to see that later. Now that we have keyers and paddles, along comes solid state electronics, and all of a sudden, man, you can do a lot of things. So this company called Curtis made a purposely built integrated circuit that the only thing it did was run keyers. Now, features automatic character spacing, automatic word spacing, always the perfect 3-to-1 ratio. A dash is always 3 times longer than a DIT. Always the right spacing, and they were cheap. So, you know, this whole era of solid state keyers just, again, changed everything. And one of the things that changed was the fact that we can now do something called squeeze keying or iambic keying. And some people have found this to be pretty interesting. Some may not realize it's not as effective as you think it might be. I squeeze key, I do it all the time. Okay, you just squeeze the key. Huh? C, you just squeeze the key. I guess you just squeeze the key and it sends characters automatic. Oh, squeeze key. You kind of got to get used to it. There are two forms of iambic keying, type A and type B. A is the keyer completes the element being sent. So if you're sending a K, you send the dash, you hit the dot letter, you let go of the dash letter, and the keyer sends the remaining letter automatically. Mode B. that always was settled. But iambic B is what Curtis tried to sell this, and most people just couldn't do it. Iambic B sends an additional element at the end of the last one being sent. What the heck is that all about? So here's mode A. You just press the dial letter, press the DIT letter, and out comes a letter C. In mode B, you start it by sending the dial letter, hit the DIT letter, and at the end of the DIT is when you let go, or the dash. When the dash starts, you let go. And the keyer finishes the dash, inserts the space, and then sends the DIT. But what it was purported to do, its whole purpose was to save keystrokes. Look at the facts. If you were to send all 26 letter characters, A, B, C, and 0 through 9, if you send it with a straight key, you would have to send 132 keystrokes. If you use a bug, that wasn't my bug, by the way. If you use a bug, it would take 87 keystrokes. If you use a non-iambic paddle, such as Tim's W9TO thing here, it would take 73 keystrokes. But if you use a mode A iambic paddle, okay, it would take 65. So yeah, going from a hand key to a iambic paddle, there's it looks like there's a big change. But the only characters you can send iambically, I waited all night to use that word. I hope you all appreciate it. If you send iambically, these are the only letters you can send. You have to send a character that has dot, dash, or dit, dot, somewhere in the character. So these are the only characters you can send iamically. In the English language, the 12 letters you use the most are E, T, A, O, I, N, S. Way out here, in the 11th position, is the letter L. And that's the only word of the most commonly used letters that you can send iamically. So if you're sending a typical message, you're only going to send iamically a very few characters. So it didn't work out. It doesn't change that much, really. But we all do it.